So in a recent video, we built this hollow lock chest. It was a fun build and I enjoyed it, except for fighting with a coping saw, or a frame saw with a coping saw blade. Had a lot of trouble with it, mainly that I couldn't figure out which mortise went to which, and it wouldn't hold together while I was putting the blade inside the trim for the box. And on this actual project, in building this coping saw, I found out a regular coping saw was not sufficient either. And I recently saw Stumpy Nubs' video where he mentioned that you could build a high quality coping saw that would outperform most modern coping saws. So I decided, alright, I better try it out, and I think I got a little carried away. Just big enough. Sweet. Alright, here is one. This is the template for two, and we're just going to do this to make them. There we are. Done. Now let's knock some mortises into them and make a cross brace. So me being the person I am and having to build something completely from scratch, whether I need to or not, I decided to make the part of the saw that held the blades in tension myself, which, although this part isn't that complicated, I probably should have made it out of brass instead of, grade 8 bolts that are incredibly hard and probably should have been annealed and or not used. But I did make them, and they are basically bulletproof and probably will last longer than the saw ever will. And I can probably put way more tension on them than I really should ever be needing. Now it's time to see how the saw works. Went ahead and cut a string. I'm not sure if this is going to be the permanent string or not, but any string will do. It does not really matter, as long as it doesn't stretch or break or anything. Some people even use cordage like twine and bark woven together to make a cord. Definitely need a handle on this thing, because this is not going to work, but it seems to hold the blade in pretty good tension.
So this is the prehistoric coping saw?
Yep. So I don't know the exact names for all the parts on a bow saw. I was never educated in bow saw anatomy, but I did know that normally the part that held the blade in the frame of the saw is where you would attach the handle, the black bolt there in the frame. But I didn't really have a way of attaching to that easily, so I thought I might get a little creative and make my own way. So I'm relatively pleased with how everything kind of fits together and works. I have tested it, but what I want to do is I think I would like a handle on it. And my first idea was put a straight handle out of here, and while I think that would work, the point of this tool is kind of that you can turn it and twist it, kind of like this one. So the blade being in line with the handle seems rather valuable. So my logic being, I'm going to make this hard on myself. I'm going to put a handle that kind of jogs down and over. out of this piece of ash. A little bit more brain cad, and we'll have this figured out. Says I'd make a mess. I might be just slightly overcomplicating this. Just a little, not too much. Just a little overcomplicated. I got this thing backwards. This is backwards. How's it line up if it was backwards? That lines up better. That'll. That wasn't on my list of things to do today. That may not come out in one piece. Oh, it's got the thing sticking out on this side. Okay. Well, there's about 50 cents down the drain. Change of plan. We're gonna use a chisel. Probably should have used the chisel in the first place. Isn't really built for this, but we're going to use it for it. By the way, little hammer. Not wailing on it with a behemoth. Did definitely overcomplicate this joint. All it had to do was hold the handle to the frame of the saw, and I probably could have done it just as easily with a couple screws. But on the other hand, I do enjoy making something that I'll look at and go, I did a good job that day. And it's gonna sit there on the bench and be used every once in a while when I definitely don't want to use a regular saw. And that is in line with that part there, so we'll see how it works. Now I have the slight problem in which when I put this piece in here to be my handle that wasn't part of my piece here, I had to do some clearance in here to make it fit, which it still doesn't fit, but we're getting closer. That just went down the dog hole. That's one weird shaped object. It's almost impossible to hold on to as far as trying to carve on it and stuff. But it is getting closer. Put it on top like so. These are brakes, but For now, we'll choose a sharp blade. I love that it holds itself together. That is so much easier than dealing with the saw that falls apart. I think the best thing I can do now is not buy Harbor Freight blades. The way we made this saw, we bent a blade trying to cut out this piece in between, this negative area, to make this mortise and the side cheeks fit. Yeah, not particularly pleasant, especially since this one was brand new. So we are going to recreate that and see if we break another one. This happened on the same job that I was trying to mitigate this issue is kind of funny. It just did it. I think that's a used blade. Oh, it did it. I didn't pretzel it again. And that blade there is straight. I'm going to call it an improvement. I wonder if we could straighten out this blade in the saw. I don't think these are heat treated, right? Wow. Actually straightened it out a little bit. I'm not touching that one. That's not bad. I mean, as far as things are concerned, coping saws aren't really meant to do that. Alright, so let's take it apart and give it its first coat of linseed oil. That's a significant change in color.